here with Lindsey Whitton after a really successful 8-0 win. Agreed to be the third guest on the Talking Town podcast, so welcome.
Hiya, thank you very much.
We'll start with the quickfire questions. So, favourite film?
Yeah, I found this a really difficult question. I feel like I've watched a load of films, but I think I love cartoons and I really like animals as well. So I think Madagascar has to be my favourite film. I can just sort of sit, chill, switch off and just laugh for a couple of hours. And it actually sort of made zebras become my favourite animal. So yeah.
Would that be the first Madagascar?
Yeah, number one,
first,
definitely,
yeah.
for sure.
Favourite TV show?
Yeah, that's got to be Friends. I think I've watched it like the box set and then Netflix over and over again, and it just never gets tiring. So yeah, definitely that.
Favourite song or album? Or we'll go with both actually.
Well, favourite album has to be Lauryn Hill, Educational, Miss Lauryn Hill. I literally just play that on repeat constantly. I think best album I've ever heard. Favourite song? I think it probably changes all the time, to be fair. But it's probably got to be a Frank Ocean song from his Channel Orange album, Pyramids, Lost. I love those songs for sure.
Dream job as a child?
Oh, that's a tough one. I feel like I was quite a boring kid. I feel like I didn't really know what I wanted to do or what I wanted to be, and just kind of always floated through life a bit like that. But when I was at uni, I actually studied geography and geology. And going through that, I kind of wanted to look into natural hazards like earthquakes, volcanoes, and look into that as a job. But then coming out of uni, I kind of ended up working in football, so that sort of disappeared, and I've just sort of carried on working in sport development since.
Cool. And speaking of footballing hero.
So when I was growing up, I used to absolutely love David Beckham. Didn't really play the position I played, but I just thought the way he could kick a ball was just absolutely unreal. So I always sort of would try and replicate that, playing football. And then probably female-wise, I think Kelly Smith was massive when I was a kid growing up, and I used to love Kate Chapman as well. I thought her work ethic on the pitch was unreal when I was younger.
Speaking of being younger, how did you get into football? Like, what were your earliest memories of playing?
Yeah, I've got into football. So I'm from Frome in Somerset, and the local team, Frome Town Collegians, was they had their girls team just walking along in the kids parade that was going on, and turns out that me and my sister knew a couple of the girls that were walking and involved in it. So we picked up a flyer, and probably knowing me, just followed my sister along to training the following week, and the two of us have never really looked back since.
Sticking with when you were a child to now, and then watching women's football, are you surprised how big it's become the last few years, especially this year after the World Cup?
Yeah, it's unreal, and I think I've always known that there's potential for it to absolutely blow up. I think I was quite lucky as a kid that girls football was quite big in our town, but when we started playing, there wasn't a girls league. We used to play in a boys league, and did really well in that. And I guess the work that goes on in all the towns, and with the FA sort of getting more girls playing football, it's turned it into most popular female sport, hasn't it? Not surprised one bit. I think the investment that clubs are putting into football, the investment that the FA are putting in sort of from a grassroots level through to the national team, it's only gonna get bigger, really.
And do you think on a national level, do you think the World Cup is an achievable goal to win it in the next World Tournament?
Yeah, sure. No, that's their plan, to try and get that World Cup win. And we saw over summer that they came really close to it. A few sort of silly mistakes, I think, that let us down in that World Cup. And I think the work that's going into that team, the players that are coming through, and the goals they're setting themselves, they will really want that, and I think it's fully achievable. I don't think maybe the results for England are going the way we want at the minute, but yeah, I think we've still got it in us to win a cup very, very soon. Yeah.
And bring it to yourself as a player. So this season you've changed from a defender to a striker, and I believe after today's game you're on 9.
I think I'm on 10 goals
10
now.
goals.
Yeah.
And was it 5 goals? It was 5 goals in one game, wasn't it? Yeah. So how has that transition been?
Yeah, it's a funny one actually, because when Johnny told me about it, I thought it would just be like a one-off, just sort of fill the gap when our strikers weren't available. But I've really enjoyed it. I think there's a lot more freedom as a striker, and you can be like a lot more creative, which isn't something I've obviously been used to for sort of the last 10 years playing as a defender, but I feel like I've sort of transitioned into that quite well, and I'm just really lucky that we've got a squad that work so hard and are so sort of creative and quick on the ball, that I guess it's quite sort of it's been quite nice just to settle into that. And in terms of what I prefer, I mean, at the minute, obviously, it's great scoring goals, love playing up front, so really enjoying that at the minute, yeah.
And so you've spoken about growing up playing football. Have you ever been exposed to any prejudice or anything like that?
Yeah.
Or has it mainly been a positive experience?
I've probably been quite lucky that I've had a really positive experience. I think playing when I was a lot younger, playing in a boys' league at sort of under 8, under 10 level, there were definitely, I think, preconceptions that we were going to sort of get hammered every week, and I think we actually won the league that year. So I think quickly in that area, people sort of cottoned on to that girls could play football really well. And I played in a boys' team one year because there wasn't actually an age group for me to play in, and a lot of the lads, I think, again, just knew that could play football with them. It'd probably only be like the odd comment I'd ever get. And they'd always want me on their team, which was quite nice. So I think it was quite. I was really lucky growing up. You do get the odd like sort of shock, when you tell people you play football, they're kind of still surprised that there's women that play football, but that may just be if they're not sort of exposed to it, they don't expect it. Yeah, it's still out there, but I think you can see 70,000 people watching England at Wembley. I've got people at work telling me that they want to watch women's football now and they've never considered it before. So I think like the culture's changing, and it's a really sort of positive environment to be in at the minute.
So do you think in a few years that sense of shock when you say, "Oh, I play football," do you think that'll go?
Yeah, I'd hope so. It should just become a normality that anyone can play any sport regardless of what gender they are, for sure. Yeah.
And what's your highlight of your time at Harrogate Town?
I think sort of the first few seasons where we started in the county league, and there was quite a lot of the unknown, I guess, of success and how well we're going to get on. And I think the highlight is just sort of getting those consecutive league wins. Shows sort of the work that the club are putting into the team, the recruitment of the players, the work ethic of the players. I think that's definitely my highlight so far.
And I believe, I'm not sure if this is right, but I think I've seen a picture of you in the 1919 bar. Like, what's that like to know that, like, because all the fans are there before the game, it's like shows how big part of the club you are.
Yeah, for sure. There's a photo just by the bar. I think we all signed it that first season when we won, and yeah, you can tell that the club wants to invest in women's football. It's really nice they recognise us and have us up there for all the supporters that are coming to the men's games, to see that and to know that not only do we have a women's team, we're pretty successful in sort of the leagues that we're playing in, and we are obviously wanting to progress. So yeah, it's great to have that recognition, for sure.
Who's the best player you've played with in your career?
Do you know what? I probably I'd say I've been quite lucky with some of the players I've played with, like just let alone at Harrogate Town. We've had like Jade Pennock playing with us for a couple of seasons, and she's absolutely flying at Sheffield now, and she was great to play with. And I think at uni, there was a couple of players that stand out to me in that team. Emma Follis being one of them. She's so rapid on the wing. She's playing at Villa now, and she's absolutely incredible. Incredible feat. So it's definitely one of the better players. And other really decent player I played with was Izzy Christensen. So she again played with her at uni. She's now playing at Lyon. In what is sort of the most successful, sort of best women's football team in the world. So say those three are definitely up there for sure.
And then for you, how far do you see your career as a player going? And would coaching be an option in the future?
Interesting question. I think I'm 28 now, so I'm probably starting to plateau soon. Yeah. But I think so far I've been really it's been a really good experience of the levels I've played at, like in terms of going from a club like Freedom Town in sort of regional league and not really sort of feeling like I can progress much, to going to uni and my coach was sort of encouraging me to go and play at teams like West Brom, and then coming up here like Leeds United to play in like Premier League level. So I think that was probably sort of a peak of my career. I think moving forward, just want to stay at Harrogate Town and just try and progress this team as much as possible until probably my time's up, which maybe in a few years. But I'd love to stay in football, whether it's sort of probably more like behind the scenes in terms of supporting a club to keep a team running. Coaching wise, I've done a bit before, but I don't think that's probably my path. I think it's probably the more the development side within a club that I'd want to stick to and support the team to progress even further.
So your playing career, would you mind just going through that with us?
Oh yeah, for sure. So yeah, Freem Collegians was the junior team that I started at. They then merged with sort of a women's team, so Freem Town, and I stayed with those guys until I went to uni, to University of Birmingham, where we had sort of really successful 3 years in sort of playing in the sort of University Premier League. When I finished university, went on to play at West Brom. Who really good team to play with, but with work moved up to Yorkshire, so that's when I made the move to Leeds United and played there for a season, but unfortunately the men's team sort of pulled the plug on that team, so we all had to find some other clubs, which was a massive shame because it was a real privilege to sort of wear that badge and play for that team. And then I went to Guysy for a couple of seasons, and I think I got to the point where I fell out of love with the game. I actually quit football, stopped playing for a season. Playing football sort of became a chore, really wasn't enjoying it for numerous reasons, and I thought that was it, didn't think I was going to play football again. And sort of my friend through work was helping John and Jed Maloney create this team at Harrogate Town, and she was like, Linz, can you just come along to the trial day? She wasn't sure about numbers, and so I went along really just my intention was just to help out that day and didn't really sort of have any intentions of playing again. And as soon as I sort of stepped into the ground, it was just such a nice atmosphere. Guys are so welcoming, like the players were so great that ended up going back the following week and just obviously being here now for the last 4 years. And yeah, absolutely loving playing here.
And then just to finish off, can we just get a few thoughts on this season? Like, can it be a successful one?
Oh yeah, I think we had a bit of a shaky start at the season. For I think maybe new players, we're trying to get like used to each other still. It's really difficult over the summer to sort of get to know each other really well and gel within a couple of games in the friendly. So I think the first couple games this season we were still a bit shaky, still getting to know each other. But we've proved in the last few games with the results that we're really starting to come together, attacking really, really well, looking really pacey, looking really fit. And I think we've got our eyes on trying to get promotion. We have all season. I think that's what we're still aiming for as a squad. So we just need to keep all the hard work up that we're doing.
And a goals target?
Hadn't really thought about that. I'm kind of, I think, still just riding on this weird wave of being up front and managing to get some goals. But I'm quite a competitive person, so I'd quite obviously like to stay near the top of that sort of goal scoring chart at the minute. So yeah, I think that'll be my aim.
Yeah, thanks for talking to us.
No worries, thank you.